This is the document they say you will never see. This is the file that turned a presidency into a crime scene. If you are watching this video, you probably lost money this week. Maybe you lost a little. Maybe you lost your life savings. You saw the headlines. You saw the tweets. You watched the President of the United States on a stage in Davos with the full weight of his office declare that the United States has acquired special sovereign rights to Greenland's mineral wealth. You saw the stock of Greenland Resources Corp, GRC for short, skyrocket from $2 to $200 in 48 hours. You watched as the entire MAGA movement, institutional investors and pension funds poured billions of dollars into something sold to them as the deal of the century. And then you watched it plummet to zero. As of 6 a.m. this morning, Monday, January 26, 2026, we now know why. A massive data leak dubbed the Arctic Papers was uploaded to the dark web by the activist collective The Glass House. It contains 50,000 emails, encrypted signal chats, and bank transfer records from Trump's inner circle at the White House. And what emerged was not a diplomatic misunderstanding, not a negotiating tactic. It was a premeditated, mathematically precise financial crime. The documents show there was no deal. The Danish government never agreed to sell. The local parliament in Nuuk never approved the lease. The agreement Trump waived at rallies was a non-binding cultural exchange memorandum deliberately mistranslated and presented to the world as a title deed. Why? Because they needed cash. The leak reveals a direct link between the Greenland pumping operation and the Japanese bond collapse. It shows that key figures within the administration and a mysterious shell company registered in the Cayman Islands faced catastrophic margin calls on Monday. They needed a liquidity event. They needed a bubble. So they manufactured one. This wasn't a deal. It was a rug pull, a scam to pull the rug out from under you. And you were the mark, the victim. We'll walk you through the anatomy of the biggest pump and dump scheme in human history. We'll name the shell companies. We'll read the emails where they mocked selling ice to Eskimos. And we'll explain why the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, the DOJ, Department of Justice, and the Southern District of New York Prosecutor's Office are now racing to be the first to charge the president's inner circle. The Greenland deal was not statesmanship. It was a financial heist. And you are the target. This is a crime scene, and the evidence is now out in the open. Among the documents is a folder titled Project Iceberg. This appears to be the internal code name for the operation. The first email, dated January 5th, 2026, is from Advisor A, whose name we're withholding per YouTube policy, but think son-in-law archetype, to a senior hedge fund manager at Polaris Capital. Subject, liquidity problem. Text, we're sinking in the yen trade. The Japan issue is about to blow up next week. We need a bridge. How fast can we move the GRC vehicle? Reply, vehicle is ready. We control 85% of the float through offshore shells, but we need a catalyst. We need volume. Can the big guy break the news on Tuesday before the Japan margin calls come in? Second email, dated January 12th, 2026, from the White House Communications Director to Advisor A. Subject, map. Text, the Danes are going crazy. They say they won't accept anything. The Prime Minister refuses to pick up the phone. Advisor A's response, it doesn't matter what they say. The headline just needs to stick for 72 hours. Publish the map graphic with the U.S. flag over Nuuk. Fox will pick it up. We'll be out of there by the time the Danes publish their denial. We'll be out of there by the time the Danes publish their denial. There's the sentence. There's the proof of fraudulent intent. They knew it was fake. They knew the correction would come. They just needed a 3-day window to sell their shares to the American public. To understand how they pulled off this deception, we need to go back to the setup. The genius of this fraud was that it was based on a kernel of truth. Everyone knows Greenland is valuable. It has rare earth elements, REEs, neodymium, dysprosium, terbium. These are the vitamins of the modern economy. You can't make an F-35 fighter jet, a Tesla battery, or an iPhone without them. Right now, China controls 90% of the supply. For years, the U.S. deep state has wanted to break this monopoly. The Pentagon wants access to Greenland. Strategically, this is a real desire. Trump's team took this legitimate strategic desire and weaponized it for profit. The timeline of the deception unfolded like this. January 10th, the first rumors leak out. Sources tell Fox Business that a historic deal is imminent. GRC stock, a dormant penny stock with no employees and only one expired mining permit, jumps from $2.10 to $5. January 15th, the president tweets, Greenland is coming home. Big news soon. China is out. The stock hits 25 hours. Retail investors start pouring in. Trump train forums are on fire. They call it Louisiana Purchase 2.0. January 20th, second term anniversary. The press secretary holds a briefing. He holds a thick leather-bound document. The president has signed a framework for resource sovereignty, he says. He doesn't release the text. He just holds it up. The stock hits $80. January 22nd, Davos speech. This was the peak. Trump stands on the world stage and says, "We have complete control." He specifically names Greenland Resources Corp as the primary partner in its development. This is the illegal part. A sitting president pumping a specific penny stock from the podium. The stock hits $200. This shell company's market value briefly surpasses Ford Motor Company. Is this real? What was that thing in the leather-bound document? According to Arctic Papers, it was a draft copy of a 2019 climate study. What did the Danes actually sign? They signed a memorandum of understanding on Arctic research and education. It approved a few student exchanges and a joint study on polar bears. That's it. There were no mining rights. There was no transfer of sovereignty. There was no exclusion zone for China. The entire narrative was a fabrication designed to last exactly 1 week, long enough for those on the inside to sell at the top, and they did. The evidence to send people to jail is now out there. The leak reveals the operation's internal code, structure, and mechanism. Front company, Greenland Resources Corp., GRC. This company was established in Delaware in 2024. It listed its headquarters as a post office box in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Its CEO is a man named Lars Jensen. Reporters found Lars Jensen this morning. He is a ski instructor in Aspen and used to be a caddy for a certain member of the Trump family. He was a straw man. Shareholders? GRC's cap table was hidden behind a maze of LLCs. Patriot Holdings LLC, Cayman Islands Arctic Strategy Fund, Cyprus Freedom Minerals Ltd, Bermuda. The leak decoded these LLCs. They trace back to a trust fund managed by a senior White House advisor's family office. And most explosively, one of the accounts extends to a blind trust associated with the president himself. Cash out on Thursday, January 22nd, the day of the Davos speech, the day the stock hit $200. These three LLCs sold $4.2 billion worth of stock. They sold into the rally. They sold to pension funds. They sold to retail investors. They sold to MAGA parents who thought they were buying a piece of American history. The Japan connection. This is the critical piece of the puzzle. Why did they need $4 billion right now? Because of the Japanese bond crash. The leak shows that the same family office had used heavy leverage in the yen carry trade. When the Bank of Japan raised rates on Monday, they got a margin call for about $3.5 billion. If they didn't pay, they would go bankrupt. Their empire would collapse. So they used the Greenland scam to fleece the American people. They transferred the wealth of the middle class to Japanese banks to save their own skins. This is a Ponzi scheme built on top of a geopolitical crisis. It's not just stock fraud, it's the weaponization of the international financial system. What is the triggering event? Japan raising interest rates on Monday. First domino, Trump team's yen carry trade positions blow up. Margin calls come in. They need to pay $3.5 billion. Second domino, they have no cash. Their assets are illiquid. They need emergency liquidity within 72 hours. Third domino, they activate the GRC pump plan. They launch Project Iceberg. They announce the fake Greenland deal to the world. Fourth domino, retail investors, institutional funds, and the MAGA base are flocking to GRC stock. The stock skyrockets from $2 to $200. There's a volume explosion. Fifth domino, insiders are selling at the top, worth $4.2 billion. They're transferring the money to offshore accounts. Sixth domino, they send the money to Japanese banks. They cover the margin call. They saved themselves from bankruptcy. Seventh domino. The Danish government reveals the deal is fake. GRC stock crashes from $200 to 0 to 42 within 48 hours. Eighth domino. Billions of dollars evaporate. Pension funds are gone. Mega investors are ruined. And the money in the Cayman Islands and Japanese bank vaults. This is a feeding frenzy. Assets are being torn apart and destroyed at the expense of the American people. Let's add another layer, the crypto subplot. The leak reveals that part of the pump involved a new cryptocurrency called Arctic Coin. It was marketed as being backed by Greenland's mineral rights. Well, it turns out Arctic Coin was minted by the same shell company in Bermuda. They sold $500 million worth of this token to crypto investors. The tokens are now worth zero. Wallet addresses show that the proceeds from the crypto sale were funneled directly into a super PAC for the 2026 midterms. This is such a blatant violation of campaign finance law that Watergate pales in comparison. They laundered fraud money into campaign cash. Now, within 72 hours, billions of dollars vanished. Lies were told about a country's territorial integrity, international alliances were damaged, election laws were violated, and the perpetrators, they're sitting in their private jets looking at maps of non-existent mines in Greenland. For the architects of this operation, this isn't just a financial deal, it's a matter of survival. According to sources, the insider advisor A, the son-in-law archetype, knew that Japan's collapse would destroy him. Leveraged yen positions were a gamble, and he was losing that gamble. The mood inside the White House is described as nuclear panic. When Japan's collapse came on Friday night, the team knew that if they didn't pay $3.5 billion by Monday morning, everything would be over. Homes, cars, planes, titles, all gone. Now imagine this, facing the threat of your wealth evaporating in a single night. The very thing that defines who you are, your property rights, is about to vanish. These people panicked, and panic turned into crime. They joke in emails. One writes, "We're selling ice to Eskimos." Another replies, "Then you'll be selling them ice cream, LOL." We need to see the psychological depth here. Not evil, but desperation. These are people backed into a corner. There's a tragic truth in human psychology. When a man risks losing everything, he takes incredible risks and commits incredible crimes. For the president, this is a different layer. It's not just money, it's identity. In his world, being rich is virtuous. Bankruptcy is worse than death. If his empire collapses, who he is disappears. And now, look what happened. The empire is collapsing. His properties in New York are being seized. The ballroom construction has been halted. And now this, the exposure of the Greenland scam, is an attack on his own base. This is a psychological collapse. Ego, reality, and crisis are converging. And as history shows, cornered leaders are dangerous. The Danish foreign minister held a press conference an hour ago. He dismissed the memorandum that Trump claimed was a title deed. This document, he said, trembling with anger, is a standard agreement to share weather data. It's 3 pages long. It doesn't mention mining. It doesn't mention sovereignty. It doesn't mention a lease. He went even further. During the so-called negotiations, Trump's team didn't send diplomats. They sent real estate lawyers. They came to my office and put a map on the table. They pointed to Thule Air Base and said, "We're expanding this to the coast. Sign here or we'll impose tariffs on your Lego exports." This was not a deal. It was a shakedown. And when the Danes refused, Trump pretended they had said yes. This explains the walkout at Davos. European leaders knew. They knew Trump was lying. They walked out because they refused to be pawns in a stock market scam. They weren't weak, as Trump claimed. They were the only ones telling the truth. Trump's deadly insult tweet calling them vassals, slaves, was his reaction to being caught. He was trying to silence them. Pay up or shut up. He feared they would expose the lie before the deal was done. Global loss of confidence. What does Putin think when he sees this? What does Xi Jinping think? They see a weak American leader. They see a leader who lies to his own allies, then bullies them when caught. In authoritarian cultures, power is absolute. The idea that a local judge could seize the emperor's palace is laughable. They interpret this as American chaos. Democracy isn't working. Look at them. They're eating their own president. This emboldens them. It makes the Greenland threats seem like bluffs. If he can't stop Letitia James, how will he stop the People's Liberation Army? Power projection relies on stability projection. The sheriff's warrant at Trump Tower is a billboard advertising American instability to the world. The signal is clear to the rest of the world. America is unreliable. Even its president lies to its allies. A source of sovereignty agreement can be signed, and then it can turn out to be completely fabricated. Now, every future agreement will be questioned. Every agreement is under suspicion. An American signature doesn't mean as much as it used to. So how does this end? Scenario 1, SEC Avenging Angel. The SEC halted trading in GRC this morning at 9:30 a.m. The stock was frozen at 0.42. The SEC Enforcement Division announced a formal investigation into market manipulation and insider trading related to Arctic securities. The SEC is usually slow, but the evidence here is clear to everyone. Rule 10b-5 makes it illegal to make false statements to influence a stock price. The President of the United States made false statements. The stock rose. The trust fund sold. This is a slam dunk case. Probability, 90%. The SEC is already in motion. They will turn the ski instructor CEO. When he talks, the conspiracy reaches the Oval Office. Scenario 2, DOJ criminal prosecution. Can you indict a sitting president for securities fraud? The OLC, Office of Legal Counsel, memos say no, but you can charge his advisors. You can charge his son-in-law. You can charge the ski instructor CEO. The Southern District of New York, SDNY, prosecutors who have been hunting Trump for decades, we hear they are already preparing subpoenas. They will turn the ski instructor. Wire fraud statute. Because emails and money cross state lines and international borders, this falls under federal wire fraud statutes. Each email, each wire transfer is a separate charge. We're talking about potentially hundreds of years of prison time for participants. Probability, 75%. SDNY is aggressive. The evidence is concrete. They will indict someone, probably more than one person. Scenario 3, class action tsunami. By Monday, every trial lawyer in America will file a lawsuit against the Trump Organization on behalf of investors who lost money. They will request discovery. They will get the emails. Civil courts could destroy Trump before criminal courts even begin. Damages will be astronomical. $4.2 billion plus punitive damages. Courts could freeze his assets. They could ruin his life. Probability, 95%. This is inevitable. Lawyers are already drafting pleadings. Most likely scenario, a combination of all three. SEC investigation, charges for small fish, class action settlement for billions. Criminal case drags on for years. Trump himself may never see jail, but his empire will never be the same. His reputation is destroyed. His brand is poisoned. And his base? They know they've been betrayed. This isn't just about celebrity gossip. This isn't just a financial crime. This is a stress test for the American Republic. It's beyond just a stock. It's national security. The president lied about an international agreement. He violated the territorial integrity of a NATO ally. He devalued America's word to the world. This goes beyond the global level. It's existential. This is what the founders feared. That's why there's the emoluments clause. That's why there are blind trusts. He rejected all of them, and now the bill has come due. The maps don't work. The waters aren't conditioned. The president is cornered, and history teaches us that cornered leaders are dangerous. The Greenland deal wasn't a deal. It was a disaster story. And now the destruction is too big even for the mainstream media to name it. This is the collapse of a presidency. As we head into Sunday, watch three things. First, the SEC subpoena wave. Subpoenas are going to the White House, to Polaris Capital, to banks in the Caymans. Documents will be seized. Accounts will be frozen. When the ski instructor speaks, and he will, the domino chain will reach the Oval Office. Second, class action lawsuits. Court filings will flood in on Monday morning. Every major law firm is racing to represent GRC investors. The discovery process will expose everything. Third, international repercussions. Will Denmark file a formal protest? Will the European Union impose sanctions? Can the NATO alliance survive this lie? But most importantly, watch the MAGA base. We're seeing videos on TikTok of men in MAGA hats crying. I put my child's college fund into GRC because he said it was a sure thing. It's gone. It's stolen. It sold us out to pay Japanese banks. History books are being written this weekend, and the chapter title is How a President Fleeced His Own People and Lost Everything. The Greenland deal was the ultimate Trump scam. Big, shiny, and completely empty. But this time, he scammed the wrong people. He scammed the world. He scammed his own fans. And there's no bankruptcy court to discharge this debt.